again, my friends. Today's video is a bit of a weird one. I have had this video idea for quite a while and I'm finally doing it. I actually made the start of this months ago, so get excited because today I'm gonna have a good old presentation, like PowerPoint presentation kinda, but I used Canva. I used a really cute template actually that you can see the start of here, and I really like it. So without further ado, here is why I love paper cut collage. Because at the start of this year I made a lot of paper cut collage and I loved it so much, and it was just so much fun and so freeing to work in it, to work with that technique, and I enjoyed it so much, and I wanted to make like a video that is like a love letter to the collage life. I'm also going to share some tips and tricks for how I do it, so if you're curious about starting with paper cut collage, this video is perfect for you. I'm going to stop snapping my fingers because I think that's annoying, but I'm just excited. So, main reason I love it. It's a lot of fun. Basically, this is the most fun I've had with art, I think, ever. It's just so playful and silly, and it's tactile. I get to work with my hands. And as you can see, the shapes of the leaves aren't like perfect by any means. They don't really look like leaves, they're just like green shapes. But they kind of read like leaves, and the goose is a simple shape, and yeah, it was fun. Also, this dandelion collage is, I think, my favorite I ever made. I just love the silly little dandelion flowers. The leaves are so fun, and the little pink flowers. My second reason is I can get messy and chaotic, which is true about all things in my life, to be honest, not just collage, but it's so fun to just like randomly rip paper and compare it to the lot of like digital drawing I do. It's so like random a little bit, and you can't really control it into fine details in the same way as you can like zoom in so much on the digital art and make the lines be perfect. So here you can see some examples of me working. The left one is a finished collage that I love so much. I was inspired by the dandelions I shared earlier and wanted to make like a very expressive background and some white flowers and yellow flowers on top of it. Also, something I enjoy very much with collage is that it gives me an opportunity to use all my art supplies. For someone who makes a lot of digital art, I have a lot of like traditional art supplies. So as you can see on the right picture, I used some old note paper that I bought years ago, and I got to use my lovely colored pencils to add some texture, and it's just like such a fun process. Also, thirdly, it's very different from my digital work. I've already touched a bit on this, but I just enjoy it so much that it's so different in the process. Like, it's chaotic and it's messy, and it's just so fun, and you don't have a lot of control. I like to sprinkle a little bit of that over my digital art when I can, like using brushes that aren't maybe I'm not very familiar with, and using like stamp brushes that are a bit random, because I have always loved that random aspect of making art, like having some parts that you can't control and some parts that don't turn out the way you wanted them to, but you gotta make it work. Here's an example of like comparing my digital art, which a lot of people actually say looks like collage. I don't really see it, but I guess there's some of that like kind of texture, and they look like paper cut shapes. Anyway, here's a little goose with a sword and the dandelions again. I tend to not make as many characters when I do collage because it's annoying. And I want to kind of mostly have fun and do like expressive random pieces. More good things. I can't really be in control. This might sound like a bad thing, but I love it. It's just, when you can't be in control, there's no perfectionism. Well, there can be perfectionism, but it can't be perfect. It's impossible to make these perfect. So there's no use trying, which is kind of like bleak and sad for some people maybe, but I really love it. Like having that that sense that I don't even have to try to make this perfect. It won't be perfect. It will be expressive and random and silly, and that's just exactly what I want. Also, look at my cute little kitty paws. Or they're not mine. They're my cat's paws. Also, good things about collage art is that I can focus on having fun and play, which is really important to me and to many people, I think, in art. Like, a lot of people kind of lose that sense of playfulness that you have as a kid or whatever, and it can really be hard to make art when you just want to make perfect art and you don't let yourself have fun. Also, it's total chaos mode, which suits me because I'm a chaotic person, but I always loved when art was a little bit chaotic and like weird. Another thing I really like is you can play around with the composition and the shapes a lot before gluing anything down. In that way, it reminds me of digital because it's so free. Like, if you paint, you can't like, oh, I'm gonna try this paint blob here, and then you can move it. Like, that's impossible unless you do collage. So collage is really great if you kind of want to experiment with composition and shapes without committing to anything. So, what materials do I use? I use a few materials, and the most important ones are glue, paper, and scissors. I read them in the wrong order, I'm sorry. For paper, I use paper to cut out of. Obviously, I use the little sheets of paper that I paint myself and I cut out of them. I usually use cheap printer paper because that's what I have. I'm not sure it's the best, but I have a lot of it, so it's cheap. And then I also need some paper to glue things onto, which there I'm a bit more picky since it has to be sturdy to hold up all the glue and the papers that you glue down. For glue, I use glue stick. I don't know if this is the most durable alternative, but I do like this. Actually, I have it here. Woohoo! Woohoo! Woohoo stick. Because the glue sticks are kind of drier than some glue you paint on, which means the paper wobbles less and less wobbly paper. It's nice. Also, it's easy to use. I don't have to clean any pencils. That's good. Pencil. Brush is called pencil in Swedish, so I said pencils. I'm very good at English. And then for scissors, I just use a random pair of scissors from the grocery store. I don't have any fancy scissors. I maybe should get some better scissors, but honestly, I mostly do this for fun and for play, and it doesn't really matter. You just need something to be able to cut with. I have tried using a scalpel and stuff, but I don't really like the process of that, and it kind of makes me go into detail a little bit too much, and I just like cutting with a scissor. So, when it comes to painting your own colorful sheets, I paint them mostly on cheap printer paper, as I said, because that's what I had around. You can see here I used acrylic paint. The choice of paint really affects the look. Acrylic paint is better for me because I've had watercolor and gouache sometimes reactivate when I have fingers covered in glue. So I get little smudges and stuff. So acrylic dries in a way that it doesn't reactivate with anything wet. So that can be good, but also it's harder to draw on top of acrylic unless you do it kind of watery. If you do thick acrylic, it might be harder to get colored pencil to go down nicely on top of it. Some examples of textures I've used before. Here is a watercolor one with a lot of water and some salt. I don't use these as much anymore, but I have used them much. I have used them a lot through the years. Nowadays, I really prefer the thick brush strokes of some acrylic textures. Now, you might ask me, but Jessica, isn't there anything bad about collage? Sadly, yes. But there are ways around them. Firstly, you have a problem. Problem is, it's annoying to cut out small things. This is my least favorite part of collage. because the little small things and cutting them, and you accidentally cut them off in half and you ruin them and everything. It's just a mess. Solution: cut out the general shape first. This is something I do a lot when I try to cut out flowers. Like, I cut out the circle first and then cut the actual flower, because going in to cut out a flower directly from a big sheet of paper is a nightmare. However, the real solution: don't do it. Just use big sheep. Just use big shapes. Easy. Here are some examples. As you can see, I told you before about the goose. As you can see, the shapes aren't like detailed. They aren't small. They're like just cut in a way that I found easy. The goose was hardest, and the beak is kind of easy because it's just a triangle. And in the other one, I actually added details and smaller things with Tombow pens, like felt tip pens. I think that's a really good for me way to get some smaller details without having to lose my mind over like cutting tiny things and gluing them down and using a like little no, I'm not gonna do that. Let's talk about tips and some mistakes I've made. Tips: don't make the same mistakes as me. Keep your workspace tidy. This sounds boring. It is. But if you cut out a lot of shapes and little scraps of paper, they cling to everything and they follow along and they cover your whole house in the end. Paper cutouts are a bit like glitter and will go everywhere if you're not careful. So be careful. I always use a little like box on my desk where I put all the little small scraps of paper, so I don't just leave them lying around the table and they go everywhere. Save your cutouts, but save some of them. I have made the mistake, and I haven't rectified this in any way, to save pretty much everything, which clutters up your stash of collage things and you can't actually find the good ones, and it's just annoying. To some extent, you'll save like the bigger pieces because they'll be usable, but like saving the little cutouts, nah. You might need them later, but don't save them all. Here are some more examples. You can see the Tombow pens that I talked about, the brush pens, and scraps of paper lying around. I don't like some of them. I want to try like adding on top of and change my mind, so they lay around my desk for a little while and I might need them, but in general I try to keep a tidy workspace, which isn't something that comes naturally for me. So here's a summary of why collage is the best. It's very fun and playful. It is very fun and playful. I really recommend it if you want something experimental and silly and just like fun. You get to cover your fingers in glue. This is my favorite part. It isn't. Actually, the covering your fingers in glue and the way the fingers are just sticky after a while, it's actually kind of useful for lifting up small things, because I just like press my finger on top of them and they follow the finger up. Also, the best part is, of course, it will never be perfect, so no use striving for it. It's a very freeing concept for a perfectionist or an artist who just puts too much pressure on themselves. Here's some more examples. I've made a lot of collages this winter, and I haven't made as many during the like spring and summer, but I still love the collages I made. And yeah. Also, I can really recommend this book for further reading about this. It's by my favorite collage artist, Clover Robin, and it's called Cut Paper Pictures. Turn your art and photos into personalized collages. They have a lot of good tips and tricks for how to do this and a lot of good inspiration, and their art is just spectacular. Do you know any other books? I would love some recommendations about collage, because I love collage and I love art books, so comment down below if you have any recommendations. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to ask me questions about collage in the comments if there's anything I haven't covered in this video. And yeah, go out and have fun with collage. I am excited. Maybe I'll do some collage today. Hope you enjoyed this silly little presentation video. I enjoyed filming it so much because I am a person who likes talking apparently. Have a nice day and enjoy your art, and I'll talk to you some other time.